All right, guys, we're back to the action here at the Pickleball Global Challenge Cup. We've got a great matchup in this women's doubles match coming up right in front of us here. I've got a special guest joining me right now. We saved the best for last for day 3, a 2-time All-American tennis player at University of Alabama, Rick Ripskin Witskin joining me. What's up, Rick?
Well, I'll tell you what, I am really happy to be here. A lot of great players assembled in one place, a very cool venue, obviously a very different format, and I think the third day of the competition, everybody knows the rules, everybody knows what ball we're using, everybody's settled in, so it's game time.
I love it. Have you ever played at this venue before?
I've never played here before. Honestly, the court surface is a little different, but at the end of the day, I don't care what the service is. I don't care what the ball is. We put me against the top players and put these women against top players, and our talents are going to shine.
Yeah,
so
you're out there to compete, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, regardless of the ball, the surface, anything. And, of course, you know, that those kind of things do change some of the dynamics. But overall, like you said, you just make your adjustments and you find ways to adapt your game, you know. One thing, let's get to this action here. And Rick, I've been watching you pros play all 3 days, and I can tell you this is going to be a very tough matchup for Team East. Lindsey Newman and Michelle Esquivel are 2 of the top females in our sport, and they simply don't make a lot of mistakes.
That's for sure. And I think the competitive moxie that they bring to the table is slightly intimidating.
Very intimidating. And I got to tell you, man, you don't teach that kind of stuff what Lindsey and Michelle have.
Yeah.
It's inside them. They're blessed with that right there. And it's a mental toughness about them. They have a lot of grit, and as do all the competitors, right? It's not taking away from anything from anybody else, but these 2 females are battling for the MVP award of this 3-day event, and that in and of itself is very impressive.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And you know, tennis has put a lot of us higher level pickleball players in a competitive mindset that translates very well over into pickleball. And that's not to take anything away from racquetball or ping pong or any other sports people play to move into pickleball, but you can just tell.
It translates, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed watching Michelle play singles yesterday against Vivian. You could see there was a lot of really smooth, solid ground strokes, and
absolutely,
I felt like, you know, it didn't matter what the score was. It's just Michelle was going to keep the pedal to the metal.
She hammers down, doesn't she, Rick? There's no stopping her once she gets on that big roll. It's impressive to watch her do that.
And so sadly, I'm really nervous at this point in time, not because I'm on a mic, because I actually like a mic in front of me, but because Michelle's my partner today in my first match in mixed doubles today, 2:30. So I just want to perform up to her standards.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and she does hold high expectations for herself, but she's also a great partner. I've watched Michelle compete with a lot of different players, and she's just got a great presence about her on the court. She's very steady in her demeanor and her composure. And honestly, it's hard to rattle Lindsey and Michelle. They're just so strong in their mental toughness. I love watching them compete.
Well, when I look at Lindsey's facial expressions after some of the points, I feel like I'm looking at myself in the mirror, because I know I have a lot of odd different looks and motions and rotations of the body, and Lindsey reminds me a little bit of that. So I don't want to put her down by saying she looks like me, but
no, totally. I think the people watching knew what you were saying. I love it. But no, I mean, talk about that real quick, because I think anybody that watches you, Rick, you basically you make an imprint on people when they watch you for the first time. I mean, they don't go away from your match and forget who you are. I mean, Rick is somebody that you're going to remember, and part of it is your style. You're a very, very talented tennis and pickleball player, a very accomplished tennis player over the years, a 25-year teaching pro in tennis, and now also transitioning into pickleball teaching. But what is it about your style that makes you so dynamic and unique? Is that just you?
Well, certainly what makes me unique compared to the East-West players is my age. I believe
what is that age?
I'm 48 years old.
Wow.
And I feel like, well, I'm definitely the oldest guy, probably the oldest out of the women too. But on top of that, I really, really do enjoy the game. You know, when you play junior tennis for so many years and you play on the satellites and the challengers, and tennis is really the competitive scenario for me when I was between ages 16 and 25, it was life or death. And pickleball, while I love competing at the highest level, and yes, there's money that comes into it, and yes, there's prestige, I don't feel like it's life or death. I've got a business back home that's doing really good things with tennis and pickleball, and it's an added benefit. Now, I will tell you, I'm missing my middle school girls team match tonight with my 2 daughters back home when I coach in Zionsville. But they gave me the pass and the green light as long as I bring home some bacon, so my daughters can go shopping.
There you go, and we do appreciate your commitment to coming to this Pickleball Global Challenge Cup. It definitely wouldn't be the same without Rick Witzkin here with us. So the commitment to do that, I know it's a big one, but we appreciate it. And gosh, look at this!
What a great rally
point here.
Such good control along with pace from all 4 of these ladies.
And talk about the reset at the pro level right there, because there's a lot of banging that goes on, a lot of exchanges, and then the reset. What's with that?
When the banging pushes you back as a net player, or you feel like the ball's below the net where you can't aggressively keep it down, it's time to reset and drop it right over the net. And I think that everybody at East-West can do that. I really, want to talk about Martina and Lucy too, because they're very smart players, very educated. Sure. I know Martina's newer to the game than Lucy. Lucy, you always expect a really consistent shot selection, and she doesn't miss many dinks. She doesn't miss many third shot drops. Very disciplined player. And Martina, who I'm just getting to know, I really like her return. She does a really nice inverted forehand slice return, which I think is a little bit difficult for opponents to perfect their third drop.
I like that.
And I think that, ultimately Martina's a tennis player turned pickleball player too.
Right, she does have a tennis background.
It's fun. It's fun to see the different iterations of tennis to pickleball.
Absolutely.
Players.
Yeah, and the transitioning is a fun thing to watch when you see them get addicted to this fun sport, just like you have, and then start to try to figure out these high-level strategies. Because let's be honest, at the highest level in pickleball, there's a lot of mental strategy that goes into it, not just physical. Isn't that right?
Without a doubt. In fact, what I'm quickly learning is that it seems like all the high-level players have almost a book of strategies against each opponent, and they know each other's strengths and weaknesses.
So
and
true.
Yeah, I mean, really, when I go play with these guys I've never played with before, they're like, hey, we need to do X, Y, Z. And while I've played pro pickleball for 4 years, I really don't travel around as much as these touring pros do. So it's fun for me to hear the analysis of, playing with Tyler Long, he had a definite strategy and game plan.
I love it.
And I thought it was a pretty good one. So
you guys made a great team.
That was a lot of fun. And I think it's really important for the players to play to the crowd, play to the live stream. I think the interviews should be the same. I think Kyle Yates is really, he and I were talking about that yesterday, how, obviously I'm old enough to be his dad, but in some regards, my on-court and disposition and interview dispositions like that. And I think that, even a disposition that Lindsey and Michelle have that are just kind of like bulldogs on the court, they got a very nice, sweet disposition
demeanor on the off the court. Absolutely agree. Yeah, and even though Rick is 48 years of age, he turns that hat on backwards, and when he's on the court and it's game on and he plays like he's 20 years old, there is no quit in that dude. He's battling against some of the best in the business. Some of them are literally half his age, and he has gone toe-to-toe, head-to-head with all of these competitors. And I can guarantee you give them every bit of your core and what you are all about, and that's what makes it fun for the fans watching. And you're definitely what I would call a crowd pleaser, and that's what I love. I love somebody that can compete at a high level and obviously fight to the bitter end, but win or lose, you're going to have fun.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually feel like my peers out here appreciate that I'm older playing, not wondering how soon can I get pushed into pro seniors, which is in itself a really tough, singles, doubles. Yeah. They're all really good in pro seniors.
Absolutely.
But I really feel embraced by the high-level pros that are younger. And for that, I'm super excited because there's a level of respect amongst all players that we all want to see this game grow. So the on-court personality is just such an important thing.
Absolutely. All right, so we got 12-2. Team East right now struggling a little bit with unforced errors, Rick. Talk about the time clock being a factor as the time comes down to under, say, 4 minutes and you're down in this game. What kind of mindset do you have to try to overcome the score deficit?
Well, it's a fair question, and as you probably realize, Scott, I've played 2 matches that totally went down to the last 15 seconds.
Literally.
And even doubles last night, the clock played a factor with the timeouts. But it's not a real comfortable place to be when you're down by 4 more points and you only have 4 minutes left. Then you start kind of going into a really high risk, high reward.
Like hyper focus.
Exactly. And if there's one word that us teaching pros like to continue to harp and zero in on with our students, it's balance.
Balance.
So you lose that balance a little bit when your fixation is the clock. So
Sure.
It's a very unique dynamic.
Yeah, and I think this is not your standard. This is not your standard pickleball match because you do have that time. But because it's a team event, it's basically team West versus team East. You have some fun dynamics like this. And yes, they're competing for money. Yes, the pros are out there battling for pride and also for their team. But you can have a little more flexibility and fun with this type of event because it's not the U.S. Open, right? It's not governed by the USAPA governing body, so we can do some of this fun stuff that makes it a little bit more challenging. I guarantee you the teams that are up when it's coming up to 3 minutes, they like the time clock there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that the team format, we had some really good cheers going on for the West yesterday.
Absolutely.
So I hope the East was taking note. But I think that, some of most of these players I really didn't know very well. And I've gotten to sit by a number of them and talk to them. I know Michelle and I were coaching Christine McGrath yesterday in her singles. Felt like we gave her a couple good tips. And it was fun to I know Michelle's a coach too. And it's fun to kind of work in that capacity as a team. And I've seen plenty of East players coaching their players.
For sure.
Giving good insight. So
I remember Frank Anthony Davis going over to Vivian during her singles match at some point, and also a couple other people. So, yeah, you're right. Boy, that is just so impressive by Michelle.
She's powerful. The thing that she really does well is she gets her base of her legs far apart, so then she rocks her core into those shots.
Does that go back to that balance thing you keep talking about?
Yeah, there you go. So many of my students think that it's really from the wrist flick and the snapping, and it's so much more about the core rotation into the ball and just catching it early. And I think Michelle and Lindsey are really good at that.
Oh, they're excellent at it for sure. Lindsey is not going to let off the throttle, and neither is Michelle. So this score, if they don't reel it in, Team East, and make some adjustments here, this score could get pretty ugly here. The reason, though, and I want to be very clear on this, Rick, but because of the format, they're not being disrespectful in the sense that they're running up the score just to embarrass the other team or anything like that. It's because it's a team event and all the points matter.
Mm-hmm.
All the points are totaled up. So keep that in mind when you're seeing this game being played out till the clock hits 0. It has nothing to do with the score, the actual running up of the score. It just means that they're going to battle because it's part of that format right here.
Yeah, and with that being said, we clearly see that Lucy and Martina are more control-oriented players. I think if this match was outdoors, I think the level of competitiveness may be higher.
Yeah, a lot of these matches would probably go a little different.
They would go differently.
A lot more competitive and close.
For sure.
Because patience and all that plays a factor in a match without a time clock. But in this scenario, if you're a more conservative, patient player, it actually doesn't lend itself to being advantageous for your style. So if basically what I'm getting at is if Martina and Lucy don't gain the upper hand and maintain that control, they're actually going to be at a huge deficit and disadvantage because you're working against the clock.
Yeah, there's no doubt that if they go behind and they start pressing, that's not going to work well for them because that's not their style. Enough they came out and would have won the first 5 points and could have been super control-oriented, then I think this match would have been a lot more competitive.
Absolutely.
But make no mistake about it. Lucy and Martina are great players, and outdoors they probably would do even better against the big hitters and strong athletes like Michelle. And
absolutely. But see,
Lindsey.
We're right under 6 minutes now. The score's a little lopsided here, but so the strategy, I think. Oh wow! I mean, we got to give credits where credit's due right there. That was Lindsey Newman with a two-handed backhand around the post. Put that ball in really nice right there.
Lindsey does not do everything by the book, if you will, in regards to the structure of her grips and her strokes. But she's such a good athlete that I think she can produce shots that other players can't produce due to the way she holds the grip, due to the way she has her hands and wrists involved in her action on her forehands and her backhands.
Yeah, she's so effective with it. She's so consistent and steady. I mean, I'll just be completely honest. These two right here are a tough matchup for anybody in the sport of pickleball because of the way they play so steady and controlled, but also they have a lot of offensive weapons as well.
They do, but they're also willing to show patience, as is the case in this rally here. You know, they're not going to speed it up on an unattackable ball. They just know that they have the ability to produce topspin, and if it comes slow enough and short enough, then they might give it a roll. But, you know, it's definitely a method here, and I think that's what a lot of intermediate players don't understand. They don't always have methodology. It's more about, okay, I'm a little bit bored with this dink, so let's speed it up, and then they get in trouble.
They get in trouble, absolutely. Well, and also talk about why the dinking is so important when you're up in a game like this with the time clock, because if you both can keep the ball going over the net unattackable, it just forces the other team to stay in that dink rally even longer.
Absolutely. And the team that is not wanting to dink is the team that's down significantly towards the end of the clock. So you know to start looking out for their unattackable attacks.
Which makes them a little more predictable, right?
Absolutely.
So the way I used to play football, and the analogy that I kind of compare this to is when a team in the fourth quarter is winning and they've got control of the ball and the pace, they'll just slow it down and they'll start running the ball and burning clock, you know, and just methodically winding that clock down. And this is what it kind of feels like right now. Michelle and Lindsey are not doing anything, you know, phenomenal or just special right now. They're just keeping the ball going over the net over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
Point. 21-1.
I do want to say that I feel like after watching players like Lindsey and Michelle and even Riley that are coming on the scene, they've been in the sport. I can't speak for Michelle. I think it's about 2 years maybe. I know the Newmans have been on the scene for about maybe a year and a half, coming up on 2 years, or maybe 2.5 years, something like that. Relatively new to the sport is what I'm getting at. We're seeing a different caliber of play coming on that I think we're going to see a lot more of in the future.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many young guys that are really, really impressive, and you know, I think most ladies would agree with this. I think the talent pool of men at the top is even higher than there are for the women. But
Agreed.
I think that, you know, you see girls like Michelle and Lindsey, they're really pushing the top level, all of the top level women to notice them and realize there's no possible way to take any of them for granted. Obviously, Lee Waters and her daughter coming on. It's just been fun to see, you know, why there aren't quite as many top women. I just think that it's been neat to see it double in the number of players that could win one of these big tournaments.
Absolutely.
And I can speak, you know, obviously from the guys' perspective, I don't really take any rounds for granted anymore. It doesn't matter if it's the round of 32 or round of 16.
You can't.
No way. There's plenty of guys I don't know that on any given day could take you out.
And that's the beauty about pickleball, is that when somebody catches fire or a team gets momentum, things can change quickly. And I have personally been a part of matches where the quote-unquote better team on paper gets beat.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens in all sports, but momentum plays a huge factor in pickleball.
It really
seems like
does.
the swings are the pendulum swings for momentum in pickleball can be very dramatic, and the way pickleball is set up with the rules, the two bounce rule, the non-volley zone, these are all very unique rules to this sport. And I think that's part of the addicting thing about this sport, is that there's a lot of high-level thinking that goes into how to manipulate your opponent based on the way the rules are designed. Again, under a minute. Lindsey and Michelle in no hurry to speed the ball up.
No.
They're just going to keep it dinking, keep it unattackable, and force them to continue just burning clock.
You're right about upsets, and I'm really curious at the U.S. Open this year
Ooh,
if
good
there's
point.
a lot of upsets that happen in all the pro events, singles, doubles. You know, I played a tournament in Washington a month and a half ago with a guy I never played with before, and we won the tournament, and we beat some pretty good names in that tournament.
I'd say so.
But, you know, at the same time, I knew they respected us. Nobody took us for granted. And we could have lost in the second round down match point.
Absolutely.
So,
No doubt. No doubt. Rick, that is the conclusion of our game right there. I really appreciate you there, man. I think I want you to come back up maybe if you get a chance before you head out of here to do one more round with me. It doesn't have to be right now, but I do appreciate your insight. And, man, it's always fun to be hanging out with you at any event. And we'll see you at the U.S. Open, too.
Keep up the good vibes.
All right, guys, we are back live for a quick interview with the winning team from Team West. Guys, I got to say, you guys are battling it out for the MVP of this whole event. That is a cool dynamic with this. You guys both played phenomenal there. Another dominating performance. Talk about what you guys are doing as a team to get these wins.
I just think staying consistent and just playing our game and not really changing what we're good at. And that's just what we did out there, and we had a lot of fun doing it, so.
Yeah, I mean, we feel really comfortable with each other, so if there are times where we are down or we're in a slump, we're able to pick each other up and, you know, get points that way. We just always have a lot of fun playing together, and we're typically pretty successful, so we're happy.
I'd say undefeated is the definition of successful. Congratulations. You guys are always fun to watch. I personally enjoy watching you guys compete out there every time you go on the court. So thank you so much. I think, Lindsey, you said you're done for the day. So you're going to be back for the U.S. Open, though, right? You'll be competing also. So we'll see you guys in just a couple days. All right, guys. Thank you. All right, let's get our next partners up here. All right, we got Lucy and Martina. Thanks for joining us, guys. Another tough competitor group right there. Guys, tell us about that match. I mean, obviously, y'all's styles with the clock, you want to be patient and kind of grind these teams out. Talk about the clock and what that does to your style of play traditionally, where that wouldn't be a factor normally.
So you're right. You know, we're always talking about the clock, but actually, you know, when our goal was to dink more because they like to bang, and pickleball is all about percentages. We just made more mistakes than them with that. So it was a great match. I had fun.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I agree. I had a lot of fun, but that was our plan. We wanted to dink a lot more, which at the end, there was a lot more dinking. But there's just such a powerhouse. I mean, they really took advantage of that, and they kept it short and quick. So, but had a lot of fun.
Awesome. It's all about having fun, guys. Really enjoy watching you guys play. Thanks for competing in this event, and we'll see both you guys at the U.S. Open in a couple days, won't we?
What do I need to be a champion? Power. Speed. And the right paddle. For me, it's the Bantam EXL by Paddletek.